Hi, I'm Ann Marie Yoo. I'm Korean American. I actually grew up in New York. I know it's kind of really strange, but was in Washington Heights when I was really little, and then kind of stayed in the area, moved out to the burbs a little bit, but for the most part, born and raised New Yorker. I had grown up playing the violin, so I kind of always had that performance aspect in me, and I've kind of gone through a few lifetimes of careers and was miserable in all of them. So decided to throw myself into an acting class one day about like 7-8 years ago and fell in love with it. Jaime Goo. She's born in Korea though, but raised here in the US, and has two parents. She's very close to her father and very opposite and kind of always butting heads with her mother. My good friend Gil, who plays DC, him and I were in a play many years ago where we played a divorcing married couple. We kind of always had this really great chemistry. So he brought me in to audition for Jaime, and here I am. I really liked the story plots. I really found different characters and how they were all explored and they were all developed and yet all intertwined. The writing was very poignant. I also loved how much creative freedom the actor and performer had to bring to their own characters and how that helped shape and mold the characters going forward. Well, I guess you learn her backstory, how she knows Gil / DC, and how they're best friends / divorced married couple due to logistic reasons for both of them. How they've had to deal with their families judging them. Different people come in and out of their lives and how they deal with it and how it affects them and how they then move forward from it. This season picks up from the last season where she learns that her father's really sick, so it kind of brings her back to her family when she did so much to break away from them. And so now she's reconnected with her family, and just when you kind of think things are going almost well, a huge other wrench kind of gets thrown in, and now Jaime's thrown for a loop again. And on top of that, the career she's worked so hard to build for herself has kind of blown up in her face. Similarities, I would say, we're not necessarily cut from a generic mold. We definitely truly believe that our own unique choices are right for us, and kind of screw whoever anyone would say about that and judge. I feel the difference is that Jaime is much more strongly in your face about it, whereas Ann Marie, myself, might be more like, okay, like let me gauge the room. If this isn't okay to say, I'm comfortable. I don't necessarily need to always vocalize my opinion and throw it in your face, whereas Jaime is much more like, no, this is who I am, hear me roar, you're gonna know it. I would say her father. There's DC, which of course I've talked about, and then her father, because as much as she doesn't feel that who she is and her life is supported by her family and her history at all, at the same time the one connecting thing is her father, and there's true love there, and they kind of have this understanding. Even though they both choose to lead very different lives, they both love and support each other, and therefore it is a really strong bond that the two of them have. I would definitely say the director, Shane. I mean, he's been so great in allowing creatively to infuse me into Jaime, and yet at the same time being like, okay, so in the situation that you probably maybe haven't dealt with, how would Jaime react, or how would you react, and then maybe blow it out a little bit, because it isn't necessarily you, sometimes it's more Jaime. Back in season 1, when you have a flashback to Jaime and Dylan hooking up, and how you see it horribly go wrong.
Would you like maybe to buy maybe
That's quite a scene. Back in season 1, our huge road trip to DC. How great everyone was, how different certain people were to each other, and how they kind of came into the mix. And yet we still got all the scenes that we needed to get done. And that turnaround was like 24 hours. I would say Jaime having to deal with the revelation that her father has cancer and may die. I remember feeling how difficult it was for me to even get into that mindset of potentially losing my father. What I did was, my parents are actually a lot older too, so I was just able to use the thoughts that I do have toward my parents and about my parents, visualizing that reality, and then being open to letting that actually affect me. Shortly after getting into acting in general, I kind of found a niche in comedy. I decided to randomly start an improv class at the Upright Citizens Brigade. Improv is a good tool to have when you're auditioning and when you're on set, and kind of being in touch with a true moment and kind of going off of that, and not necessarily being so restricted to the script and the scene and so staged and blocked. I find improv incredibly difficult, I really do, but that's why I still do it actively. The sketch I find is like the perfect marriage of it all, because I love comedy, I kind of love being goofy and showing like different sides that aren't necessarily socially acceptable given your situation. Yet you still have a script, but you have room to play and kind of blow out characters and be ridiculous, and yet at the same time still find that reality and find those moments of what would actually be truthful. The, cliche that truth in comedy is really what is funny is there. So that's kind of my love for comedy and my big focus. I would have to say Gil, DC, because we've had the chemistry from this play that we did forever ago. I remember one of the first scenes we were rehearsing back before season 1 started. It was like putting on an old pair of shoes. It just fell perfectly into a place immediately, as if like no time had elapsed at all. I love best about coming to this particular set is that I know that things are going to get done fast. I know that everything is efficient, and it's great that Shane really trusts the actors to know where their moments are and to know what's happening and to bring themselves to it, and therefore you don't need to take the take 30 times, 50 times, and if he's got it, he's got it. And I'll be honest with you, I first thought that was incredibly frightening, and like I was like, there's no way you got that. There's no way, I don't feel good about that. And then you see the end result and it's great. The early mornings. I would say this is probably one of the few characters I've had in my career thus far that I've been able to see through for a prolonged amount of time. So I've actually been able to see the arc and experience the arc, and then even then some continue on often on these projects. You find the arc within the project, and then that's that. But it's been so great to actually have a continual kind of life actually happening, and you experience it with the character. I think Stills is really great because it examines the facets of life from very different people, from being gay or having horrible family issues, maybe great family issues, being trans, and knowing your identity but dealing with the rest of the world and having the world not understand your identity. The point is that they're human beings and they're whole people, and they interact like everyone else and they have friends like everyone else. I haven't seen a project thus far that's really explored that, given really good writing in an actual fictional drama. I would love this show to really get recognized on some grand scale, and grand is obviously is a broad term, but I feel like so many people have come in and out and mainly stayed in and have poured their hearts and souls really into it, and I'm sorry to use a cliche, but it's really true. A lot of time and effort has really gone into this, to making this a great project and exploring these characters and bringing them to life and bringing these stories to life. So, and I really think that they're captivating, and they really speak to people out there. I think there's a really big audience for it, and that is of course the greatest thing ever, to share your performance with everyone else. And as far as Jaime's future, I don't know. I know there's a lot of different talk about the direction of Jaime. We've explored a lot with her already in these 2 seasons. She's come around in growth a lot as a human being. I would like, I guess, maybe for the happy ending, like that she actually experiences like life is actually okay, and she's actually going through life, and all her hard work and all the bumps and bruises that she's experienced along the way has paid off for a little bit, and maybe there's the eye of the storm has come where she actually can reap the fruitful bounty that she's sown.
Thank you.
Thank you.